Hey, grade 10s. So today, your lesson, oh, that's a biology. Today, your lesson is actually more on about distance and displacement. Now, this will be our second lesson on this will be our second lesson on the physics section. So we're still dealing with distance, we're still dealing with displacement. We kind of talk a little bit about the definition what they are yesterday, last lesson, along with speed and velocity. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to bring more math in. Okay, we're going to bring more math in, and as you can see, we're going to do about hypotenuse. We're going to talk about using Sakatoa, finding the angle. We're going to calculate the two legs of a triangle.
Cool.
It's very much, it's quite a bit of the math. Now, I'm not quite sure where you guys are in terms of your math class. Now, I know extended math people have learned it already, but how about the normal, regular math people? Have you guys learned it before? Okay, so the handout that you're going to use today is actually here. Go for the more detail on the distance and displacement. Now, as you can see, the format of this on Google Doc is somewhat messy. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay, so in this case, it's somewhat messy. So make sure you, as you can see, open with Microsoft Word. Do that so you can actually have it on Microsoft Word like this, and then the format will be correct. Okay. Now, so just a reminder, you learned about scalar and vector already. You can read. So I'm gonna let you read this. Okay.
Dad, they learned about cereal?
Huh?
They learned about cereal?
A little bit.
Okay.
No, it's not the same kind of vector.
All right.
So, anyways, now you also have learned about the difference between distance and displacement. So distance is the path that you travel and how long that path is, versus displacement is really the end of where you end up, the difference in position. How much position have you changed? So here's the differences again. We're going to build on top of these two piece of knowledge that you learned from last lesson. So let's look at problem 3. Okay, we're going to start off easy. I don't know why it's called problem 3 because maybe it's total. But anyways, we're going to start out problem 3. So Jamie and Rowan get on the roller coaster. Starts off by moving up a gigantic hill, taking them diagonally from point A to point C. Interesting. Along the 4 supporting pillars in the figure below. Okay, so I guess this is a hill, I guess. I don't know. Find the distance covered by the roller coaster between point A and point C. Okay. Now, in this question itself, okay, you're talking about how far was the distance traveled between A and C. So because of these, you go basically going this way once and then go up this other way. You're trying to find the distance here. So some of you probably you've seen this stuff in math before. You are actually, I think this should be displacement. It makes more sense if it is you're talking about the two vectors. So in this case, there should be displacement. I'll change that. Now, what if the two vectors are perpendicular? You must use a Pythagorean theorem. So Pythagorean theorem, if you remember from your math class, I'm pretty darn sure you remember this, would be a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, so we have this note here. You can kind of see it's a similar question. Okay, someone walk this vector, go up this vector. What's the result displacement? Okay, so that will be the result displacement. Then you'll need to use the Pythagorean theorem. Now, thankfully, I have a Thankfully, I have a document camera here at home, so let's do that. So let's focus a little bit. All right. So in this case, if you remember correctly, well, it looks a little hazy.
There we go.
Okay. So Pythagorean theorem is a square plus b square equals c square. So c is, of course, always the longer side or the hypotenuse side of the triangle. You're talking about a right angle triangle. This is A, this is B. Labeling for these two, that doesn't matter as long as they're the two sides that are kind of shorter, so to speak. So in this case, let's go back to the problem 3. So you're talking about, and again, I said this looked like it should be displacement, not not distance. So going back to this one, you have AB, and then B, going from AB to go from B and C. So you go between point A to point B, and then from point B to point C this way. So there's no left, north, south, and west. There is a sense of direction, though. So in this case, it is 1 kilometer per little line. So in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'll be 5 kilometer here, and then you have 3 kilometers down south. You can actually down there. You're spying. Okay. So in this case, you're trying to find the distance between A and C here. Okay. So what is the distance? So in this case, this will be your C. So C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Let's just call this A. Let's just call this B. Either way is the same thing. So in this case, you have 5 squared plus 3 squared. So 5 squared, what's 5 times 5, Abby?
5 times 5, 25.
Okay, what is 3 times 3?
3 times 3 is 9.
Okay, good. So 25 plus 9?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
34.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So in this case, C squared equals 34. Give an applause for Abigail. Yep. So anyways, so C squared is 34. So C squared is 34, but C is not 34. C will be square root of 34. Square root, by the way, means, Abby, square root, by the way, means I have this number. I'm trying to find what number times itself will give you 34.
Okay.
So just like 6 times 6 is 36.
3 times 3?
3
9.
times 3 is 9. So square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 9 is 3. Okay? So anyways, coming back to you guys. Yeah. So 34. I am guessing right now it's something close to 6. It's less than 6. Okay?
5.
So, well, yeah, 5 point something. So we'll use a calculator or Google. Square root of 34 equals, it will be 5 point, ooh, I was good guess, 5.83095. So in this case, the answer to this question, the displacement between A and C, it should be, let's just round this to 2 decimal place. We're not caring about how many decimal place at moment. So 5.83 kilometer. That's a distance between A and C. Okay. Pause here. Do you have any questions? Okay. Now we're going to move on. So in this case, let's do one practice question. Let's do this practice question. Okay, Veronica and Veronica, Sasha, and Chloe all get on the roller coaster, and that takes them through the hill and loop along. So basically, they go along 1,167 meter north, and then it does a Colbert roll and takes and then takes them 314 meters east through dark tunnels and finish. Okay. Now, if you're really curious about what a Colbert roll is of all these roller coaster maneuver, go right ahead, click on these links. It will tell you what that means. I don't like roller coasters because it gives me motion sickness, so I'm just gonna pass. But anyways, coming back. So, but just reading the question itself, I can actually see it's like, 1,167 meters north, 314 meters east. Okay, so I'm using this whole. I'm doing this method of north, east, south, west. This is plus, plus, minus, minus. So in this case, that will be just how I show this work. A lot of teachers, not just in IB, but in a lot of schools, they show their kind of signs and vectors this way. So it's not a bad idea for you to follow that too. Okay, most physics or science teachers will have a background understanding that. Now, so in this case, you're trying to find the distance or the displacement from here to here. Okay. Again, you should recognize that these two are perpendicular to each other, right angle to each other. So in this case, you want to find out what this length is. So to do that, again, this would be your c squared. Let's just say this is a, this is b. Okay. So again, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay. So in this case, now the a is 1,167 plus 314 squared. So all these squared equals c squared. Now, so in this case, you should use a calculator to figure this out. Now, one of the things that I was talking with Mr. Barron before the break, what I noticed he does, and the physics students in this class too, is he try to get everything into one line, into one line, and then enter it onto the calculator or on the computer. And the reason being is that if you calculate all this out and then you do all the math, you end up being a lot of middle rounding. You might end up rounding the same number twice. So if you simplify everything into one line and then do the calculation that way, it's a lot more accurate. And I will try to do that too, or encourage you to do that too. So in this case, if you want to find c squared at the end, what you essentially will do is it will be square root of 1,167 squared plus 314 squared. Okay, so let's plug that in the calculator. By all means, I can't do this in my head either. So, you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. What am I doing? Right.
So
square root of bracket 1,167. Now, where's the square button on this thing? To the power of y plus bracket 314 close bracket again squared and then close bracket. Now you need to be careful because you need to make sure on the computer as well as on your calculator you have a big bracket around this whole thing, because otherwise what you're telling the calculator to do is just find the square root of this and then plus 314 squared. which is not right. Okay, so make sure you have a bracket around that. Equals. Now this equals to 1208.50. So we're not really at this for this question. We're not caring so much about sig figs in this point. So it's 1208 0.5. Okay, and what is the unit?
This is complicated.
This is math. This is m. It's complicated. Well, that's why you need to know your times table and do it really, really well, which you're doing relatively well. Yay! So, anyways, coming back. That is question number 1. Oh, what's their displacement? So this will be good question. So in this case, this will be their displacement. However, if you're talking about distance, okay, so this is their displacement, which is, if you remember, the symbol for displacement is D with a funny arrow sign on top. Displacement meter, and this will be the direction wise, because you have to show direction. The direction will be northeast. Okay, now we're not exactly as very precise in terms of northeast, how many angle, like, but yeah, it's going up north and then a little bit east, so it's northeast. Okay, you're not saying how many angle, which later on those guys will have to learn how to do that. Okay. So now in terms of distance, what you have to do is you went up this way, went up that way. So total distance, again, the symbol for distance is D, would equal to 1167 plus 314. This one will be relatively simple. This will be 1 up there. This will be 8. This will be 4. This will be 1. So this will be 1481 meters. Okay. So pause here. Do you have any questions?
No.
Well, you don't.
Okay.
Okay, so you know what? I'm going to pause this video. I'm going to break this section down because the next video we're going to deal with a little bit more of the Pythagorean theorems. Not Pythagorean, with the Sakatoa, with trigonometry. Yeah, you won't learn about trig until like grade 10. Yeah. So what I would ask you to do, try to do this question on your own. When you're done, watch the second video. Okay? Bye now.